You fixed the couch, you cleared the corners, but money still feels stuck. Maybe it's not where you sit, it's what you stare at. A twisted sculpture, a painting that screams, a clock that forgot to tick. Today, we talk about the 6th of December, or pieces that don't just look strange, they call in chaos. We often decorate from taste, from style, from stories we once heard. But in Feng Shui, an object isn't just what it looks like, it's what it stirs inside the space. Some decor uplifts, some soothes, but some carry an invisible noise, the kind that blocks flow and makes money avoid your door. We think, oh, this sculpture looks edgy, I love it. But the chi says, sharp, sliced, shattered. We hang abstract art to feel inspired, but forget to ask, inspired or overwhelmed? So today, we'll walk through 6 seemingly innocent items, and you'll start to feel why your space hasn't been able to hold wealth energy. Some of these you might already have, some you might love, but after today, you'll never look at them the same way again. And I promise, the last one is the most surprising. So take a breath, stay with me, and if this feels like the kind of energy you want more of, there's a whole playlist called Feng Shui Home Tips, just waiting for you to come home. It's just a painting, lines, colors, brushstrokes. But why does it make you feel nothing but noise? We buy abstract art to look modern, expressive, deep. But in Feng Shui, what you see is what your space becomes. And if the image is chaotic, tangled, or stormy, that's the frequency your wealth energy has to move through. One of the most common mistakes, we choose art based on vibe, not energy. You walk into a store, see a painting with wild colors and jagged strokes, and think, oh, this looks cool. It feels bold, mysterious, deep. So you hang it in your living room, or worse, right near the front door, where energy first enters your home. But here's the thing. You didn't ask what kind of energy that painting was bringing in. You didn't ask if your nervous system felt calm or tense looking at it. Because most people never do. They treat art like furniture. Fill the wall. Make it pop. That's it. And over time, these bold, mysterious paintings become silent noise machines, disturbing the chi without you even realizing. These kinds of paintings, with sharp strokes, splattered patterns, or dark, violent tones, can scatter your chi, especially in wealth zones. It's like trying to count your money while someone's banging pots next to your ears. No clarity, no stillness, just static. You don't need to throw away all your abstract art, but you do need to check in with how it makes you feel. Here's a simple way to start. Stand in front of the painting. Don't think about price, style, or what others said. Just feel. Ask yourself, does this calm me down or stir me up? Would I want to meditate near this? If your body feels tight, confused, or uneasy, that's a no. You can replace it with something softer. It could still be abstract, but with gentle lines, flowing shapes, warm tones. Something that lets your nervous system breathe. Or just take it down for a week. Let the wall breathe. Notice how your space responds. Because sometimes, subtraction is the cure. I had this painting I bought years ago at a weekend market. It was messy, swirls of black, deep red, and a splash of silver. I didn't really understand it, but it looked expensive, mysterious, like something from a gallery. So I hung it in the hallway, right across from the front door. For months, I kept walking past it without thinking, until one day I stood still and noticed I was always holding my breath in that spot, always feeling tense. I remembered something I heard. If your body doesn't feel safe in a space, money won't stay there either. So I took it down. Didn't replace it, just left the wall blank. And weirdly, the space felt softer, like my house could finally exhale. And honestly, so could I. After I took the painting down, I didn't expect much. It was just one wall, right? But within a few days, the whole energy near the entry started to shift. It felt less pushy, lighter, like I wasn't being greeted by noise every time I stepped inside. I noticed I stopped rushing through that space. I paused more, took off my shoes slowly, lit a candle, something I hadn't done in months, and without realizing, I started making better choices with money. Not huge wins, but fewer impulse buys, more clarity with spending. Sometimes the biggest shifts start with what you choose not to hang on your wall. Not all chaos screams. Some of it just hangs on the wall. And now, let's talk about something even sharper than a painting, what you sculpt into your space. It's sharp, it's edgy, it's sculptural, but is it safe for your chi? In Fengshui, sharp edges are seen as poison arrows, cutting through energy lines, creating invisible pressure. That sculpture you love, it may be stunning, but it's silently stabbing the flow around it. Here's what most people do. They find a sculpture that feels cool. Maybe it's jagged metal. Maybe it's stone shards, arranged like a crown. It feels artsy. It catches the eye. It makes the shelf look complete. So they place it right in the middle of the living room, or next to the entrance, or worse, on the coffee table, where energy is meant to gather and rest. But here's the problem. Those sharp lines, they don't just look edgy. They cut the air around them. They create an invisible pressure that makes it hard for chi to move smoothly. And most people never notice. They just feel restless, easily irritated, unable to relax in the exact same room they worked so hard to design. We decorate for beauty, but forget to ask, is this beautiful to my nervous system too? Jagged shapes create tension. You might not notice it right away, but you'll feel it in your sleep, in small arguments, in a subtle restlessness that never quite leaves. And if placed near wealth areas, they can fracture your focus, scatter your intentions, and push abundance energy outward instead of in. You don't have to stop loving bold sculptures, but you do need to ask, where is the best place for this energy? Start simple. If the sculpture has sharp points, jagged edges, or feels intense, don't place it in high traffic or high energy zones, like your living room, office, or entryway. These areas need flow, and sharp shapes interrupt it. Instead, try this. Move it to a less central space, a corner shelf, a hallway niche. Or soften it with surroundings, pair it with round objects, plants, or wood to balance the energy. If you want to keep it where it is, place a grounding cloth or tray beneath it, something with curves or soft texture to hold and contain the intensity. And if you're still unsure, just take it away for a few days. See how the space feels without it. Your body will know. It always does. I had this sculpture I picked up from a local artist. All jagged iron pieces, welded together into a sort of rising flame. It was heavy, striking, looked expensive, and, honestly, kinda badass. I placed it right on the sideboard in my living room, facing the couch like it was guarding the space or something. People always noticed it. They'd say, "Oh wow, what is that?" And I'd laugh and go, "No idea, but it's cool, right?" But over time, I started feeling a little uneasy in that room. I didn't want to read there, didn't want to meditate there. Felt like my chest was always half tensed, like waiting for something to drop. One afternoon, I decided to move the sculpture to a quiet hallway corner and replaced it with a smooth ceramic bowl and a round candle. No big Fengshui ritual, just a quiet swap. But wow, the room felt softer, like the air got rounder. And for the first time in months, I actually sat on the couch and stayed still. After that shift, I started staying longer at my desk, less fidgeting, more flow. And within a week, I closed a client deal I'd been circling for months. Turns out my chi just needed room to settle. Not every point makes a point. Some just pierce the piece. Now, let's move from sharp to something that's supposed to be alive, but might be silently dying in your space. It's just a plant, but if it's wilting, it's not just dying, it's taking the room's chi down with it. In Feng Shui, plants represent life, growth, and renewal. But when they're yellowing, brittle, or drooping, they no longer give. They start to drain. Dead plants don't just stop growing. They absorb the energy around them, like emotional sponges for stagnation. Here's where most people get it wrong. They treat plants like throw pillows, just part of the decor. You buy one to green up the space, put it in a pretty pot, and then kind of forget about it. When it starts to droop, you tell yourself, "Oh, it's just a little dry, I'll water it tomorrow." Then tomorrow becomes next week. Then you're used to it, looking sad, and it blends into the background. Sometimes, you even start moving it around, hoping a different corner will fix it. But deep down, you know it's not thriving. You just don't want to throw it away, because it feels wasteful, or guilty, or like you're giving up on something that used to be alive. And that's the real mistake. Keeping a dying plant because it once looked good, even though now, it's quietly telling your space, something here is stuck, and we're pretending it's not. Dead or dying plants pull the energy downward. They mute the chi in a room, especially when placed in money corners or near doorways. You might notice a lack of motivation, a dip in clarity, even procrastination that feels heavier than usual. It's not dramatic, it's subtle decay, but it lingers and affects everything. You don't have to feel bad. We've all kept a dying plant longer than we should. But here's a gentle reset you can try. Start with a quiet plant check-in. Walk through your home and look at each one. Don't just glance, pause. Notice, is it standing tall? Are the leaves still vibrant? Or is it mostly just surviving? If a plant looks tired, ask yourself honestly, am I still caring for this? Or just keeping it out of guilt? If it feels like guilt, it's time to let it go. Compost it. Say thank you. Clear the space where it sat. Maybe light a candle or wipe the area clean. Then, when you're ready, bring in a new plant, one that fits your routine and lifestyle. Not just any plant, but one that's easy to love. Pothos, peace lily, snake plant. The kind that gives back without asking too much. And if you're not ready for a new one, that's okay. Even an empty corner can hold more chi than one holding on to a little death. I had this little money tree someone gifted me when I first moved in. It was cute. A tiny braided trunk, bright green leaves, sitting right by the kitchen window. At first, I watered it regularly, talked to it even. You know, new home energy. But then life got busy. Deadlines, groceries, texts. 1 week, I forgot to water it. Then 2, the leaves started drooping. A few turned yellow, but I kept thinking, it's fine, I'll revive it soon. I moved it to a brighter spot, changed the pot, even tried playing music next to it. But honestly, it never bounced back. It just sat there, like a tired little presence holding on, because I wouldn't let go. One morning, I stood in front of it and whispered, I think you're done. I thanked it, composted it, then cleaned the windowsill. That same week, I got a new pothos plant. Something easy. Every morning now, I water it while my coffee brews. It's a small thing, but that daily ritual makes the whole kitchen feel more alive. After that, I started paying attention to how things felt, not just looked. I got 2 new small plants, and every morning, I'd water them while setting intentions. The vibe shifted, less stuck, more steady, and weirdly, I started finishing tasks I'd put off for weeks. Life energy doesn't lie. If something's fading, it's time to let it return. And now, let's talk about something else that holds time. But when it breaks, it holds you back too. It's not just stuck. It's not just broken. It's holding your life still. In Fengshui, clocks represent the flow of time, and time is directly tied to momentum, wealth, and forward movement. So when a clock is broken, it doesn't just stop telling time. It stops allowing time to move through your space. Here's what usually happens. The clock stops, and at first, you notice. You tell yourself, oh, I need to change the battery. But then, a week passes. Then 2, and eventually, you stop noticing altogether. It becomes background, just another thing hanging on the wall. Even though every time you walk by, your body registers that something is stuck. Some people even keep broken clocks because they look vintage or match the vibe of the space. They think, it's fine, it's just decorative. But the energy doesn't care how aesthetic it is. It cares whether time is moving. And that's the real mistake. Treating a symbol of time like it doesn't matter if it works or not. Because in Feng Shui, when you live with broken clocks, you start sending a quiet message to your space. It's okay to be stuck. And slowly, you start feeling exactly that. When clocks are broken or stuck, they create stagnant chi. You might notice patterns like procrastination that won't budge, feeling emotionally stuck, money flow that pauses without clear reason. The longer it stays broken, the deeper the pause becomes, as if time, energy, and intention all start circling in place. The fix is gentle but powerful. Start by doing a little clock walk. Go around your home and find every clock. Wall clocks, desk clocks, even the little one on the microwave. Ask yourself, is it still working? Is it telling the right time? If the answer is no, change the battery, adjust it, or take it down. Don't wait until next week, because every day it stays broken, Your space keeps holding that stuck message. And if there's a clock you love the look of, but it no longer works, you have two options. 1. Turn it into art, remove the timepiece so it's no longer pretending to track time. 2. Or move it to storage until you feel ready to restore it fully. Then, try placing a working clock somewhere meaningful, like your home office, near your money corner, or by your front door, somewhere that reminds you time is alive, flow is real, and you're moving forward. This isn't about being perfect with time. It's about respecting movement, so your space can breathe again, and money can too. I had this little wall clock in the kitchen. It was shaped like a teacup, super cute. I bought it years ago at a flea market, and even though it stopped ticking ages ago, I kept it because it looked nice. It filled that empty space above the counter. At some point, I stopped noticing it, stopped checking the time there. But the weird thing was, I also started losing my sense of rhythm in that room. I'd overcook things, forget timers, keep rushing through meals without really knowing why. One day, while wiping the backsplash, I looked up and realized it was still stuck at 5:12. Felt kind of eerie, so I took it down, just quietly, replaced it with a little framed quote about slowing down. And from that moment, the kitchen felt calmer, more present. And oddly, I started eating slower, making tea instead of just chugging coffee. Little things, but they shifted the energy big time. After I removed it, something shifted. My focus came back. I felt more flow during work. Even money, which had been waiting on invoices, finally landed. Turns out, the chi was waiting for time to move again. Energy can't flow in a room where time is stuck. And now, let's move into something more subtle, more eerie, and often overlooked. Decor that watches back. You bought it for character, for quirk, for conversation, but now you're not sure who's watching who. In Fengshui, every object has presence, and figures, statues, masks, dolls, faces carry not just shape, but attention. If something in your space feels like it's watching, you're not imagining it. Your body is simply reacting to chi that doesn't rest. We all have decor we keep because it's interesting, a little weird, something people might comment on. Maybe it's an old porcelain doll from childhood, or a hand-carved mask you picked up on vacation, or just a quirky little statue you saw at a thrift shop and thought, this is kind of cool, let's put it on the shelf. At first, it just feels like character, but over time, you start to notice little things. You look at it more than you meant to. You avoid turning your back to it. Or you move it slightly, not because it was out of place, but because it felt like it was facing you. And here's the part we often ignore. We sense when something has too much presence, but instead of trusting that, we explain it away. It's just a decoration. It's silly to feel that. So it stays. Even when your body's quietly saying, I don't feel safe here. That's the real mistake. Overriding your own energy signals. Because the object looks unique. These figures can subtly disturb the chi in a room, especially when placed near rest areas like bedrooms, or reflective spots like mirrors. You may notice light sleep, mild anxiety, or a sense of discomfort you can't quite name. That low-grade stress, it adds up, and it pushes peace and wealth energy away from your space. Start by walking through your space slowly, Not to tidy, not to clean, just to notice. Look at every object with a face, a gaze, a presence. Statues, dolls, masks, figurines, even artwork with human eyes. And then pause. Stand in front of each one. Ask your body, not your brain. Do I feel relaxed or slightly on edge? If there's even a hint of tension, I don't ignore it. It doesn't mean the object is bad. It just means its energy no longer fits your space right now. Here's what you can gently do. Move it to a less visible spot somewhere off your main path. Wrap it in a soft cloth and store it away. Before you put it away, say something simple like, "Thank you. You were part of this home. But now, I invite in calm." This isn't about fear. It's about permission, giving your home the right to hold only what supports your peace. And the moment you do this, you'll feel the silence settle in. The good kind. I used to have this little ceramic face on my bookshelf. It was handmade white glaze, closed eyes, no mouth, kind of beautiful in a haunting way. Someone gave it to me as a housewarming gift, and I didn't want to seem ungrateful, so I kept it. At first, it just sat there quietly, but the more I spent time in that room, especially at night, the more I felt like it was watching. Not in a scary way, just like it was awake. Sometimes I'd be journaling, and I'd glance at it, then lose my train of thought, or feel like I had to move to another seat. I didn't connect the dots right away, until one night, I looked at it and felt this tightness in my chest, like my nervous system was quietly bracing for something. The next morning, I picked it up, wrapped it in a scarf, and placed it in a box with a little note. "Thank you for your presence. I release you now with peace." That corner, it softened, like the room's side back. Since then, I felt more at ease near the entry, more grounded, and interestingly, I've had fewer strange dreams, less racing thoughts at night. Like my home stopped whispering back at me in ways I didn't ask for. Not all watchers mean harm, but some simply weren't meant to stay. Now, let's talk about something even more subtle. Objects you can't name, don't remember buying, and maybe shouldn't be holding on to at all. You don't know where it came from, or who gave it to you, and still, you let it live in your home? In Fengshui, every object carries memory, not just from where it's been, but from what it has absorbed. So when you bring something into your space, without knowing its story, you're also bringing in energy you never agreed to hold. We all have stuff we've picked up, and don't really know where it came from. Maybe someone gave it to you in a random moment. "Here, take this. I don't need it." Maybe you grabbed it at a yard sale, or it came in a hand-me-down box from a relative, and it just stayed. You put it in a drawer, or on a shelf, or let it sit in a corner because maybe I'll use it someday. But someday never came. And here's the real problem. You never checked in, never asked, "What energy is this carrying into my home?" Because sometimes the object looks nice, but the vibe feels off. A little too heavy, a little too quiet, but you keep it because it was free, because it's not hurting anyone, or honestly, because you forgot it was even there. And that's the mistake, allowing something to live in your space that you never truly invited in. These items, especially when stored in closets, under beds, or in wealth corners, can act like static. They clog flow, not because they're evil, but because they're unanchored. They don't belong to you, and they don't know how to support you. so they just sit, taking space, while your intentions struggle to land. This one's simple, but it works best when done slowly, like a quiet check-in with your home. Start with a short walk through your space. Look for things you didn't choose intentionally, a gift you never asked for, something left behind from a move, an old mirror or bowl that you don't remember buying, a basket you never touch but can't throw away. Pick one, hold it for a moment, and ask yourself, do I know this object's story? Does it feel like mine? Is it helping the energy here, or just sitting in it? If it feels off, try one of these. Cleanse it. Salt, incense, sound, sunlight, anything that resets its chi. Store it temporarily with a label, hold, not keep. Release it with care. Donate, gift, recycle, or return to nature. And if you're unsure, move it out of sight for 3 days. Just that. Your body will tell you what to do next. Because clearing isn't always about getting rid of things. Sometimes it's just choosing what you truly want to carry forward. There was this silver bowl that sat on my hallway shelf. I honestly couldn't remember where it came from. Maybe it was from an old roommate. Maybe it came in one of those take what you want boxes during a move. I used it for keys, spare change, little things that didn't matter much. But every time I touched it, there was this weird resistance, like the surface felt colder than it should. Not temperature, just energy. For months, I ignored it. Told myself, it's useful, it fits the space, why mess with it? But one weekend I was doing a deep clean, and something nudged me to just hold it, feel it. And the longer I held it, the more I realized this wasn't mine. Not just physically, energetically too. So, I saged it, wrote a little note, thank you, I release you, and dropped it off at the donation center the next day. Now, that shelf holds a plant, and every time I grab my keys, the space feels lighter, like it finally belongs to me. Since then, I've been more mindful of what I allow in not just people, but objects too. And weirdly, money flow got clearer, less stuck, more aligned with what I intended, not what I passively accepted. Not every item you carry is meant to follow you home. And now, you've seen the 6 things that quietly invite chaos and block the flow of wealth in your space. But this story isn't over, because the reset starts right here. 1. Do a quick decor audit. Walk through your space and look at every item with fresh eyes, especially the ones you've stopped noticing. Ask, does this support calm or stir tension? 2. Take down any art that feels chaotic. If it feels sharp, stormy, or confusing, try removing it for just 3 days. Let your walls breathe. 3. Replace sharp sculptures with round, grounded forms. Even one soft object can shift the tone of a whole shelf. Curves invite ease. Edges hold pressure. 4. Remove anything dead, broken, or quietly creepy. This includes wilted plants, clocks that stopped ticking, and figurines that stare back at you. If your body avoids it, listen. 5. Choose what gets to stay. If you don't know where it came from, or it carries a weird feeling, cleanse it, donate it, or let it go. You're not just clearing space, you're choosing what kind of chi lives with you. Sometimes, the most powerful feng shui shifts don't come from crystals, coins, or cures, but from letting go of the beautiful thing that doesn't feel safe letting go of the free thing that came with unknown weight, letting go of what once inspired, but now just lingers. Your home remembers everything you allow in, and so does your energy. So today, tell me in the comments, what's one object you're ready to release? And if this video helped you feel something shift, there's more waiting for you. Our Fengshui Home Tips playlist goes deeper into the objects, corners, and quiet habits that either block or build your wealth chi. Next up, the mirror mistake that blocks wealth flow. It's a quiet one, but a powerful one. You don't want to miss it.